slightly faster, not very fast, okay, but it will not be a sudden jump from crawling to running. We'll try to jog a bit around some concepts because chapters in 12th class, though they are written very concisely in NCERT, they contain a lot of information that needs to be understood and discussed both for your boards and exams, entrance exams. Okay, so before I start, would you like to give a quick recap of human reproduction, just the basics? It was not much,
Yes,
but
sure.
less. Yeah. Okay.
So we talked about sexual reproduction in humans. Firstly, what are Homo sapiens? Homo means human or man, and sapien means wise. Sexual reproduction is most evolved reproduction. After birth, there's a period called as juvenile period where the organism is sexually immature, and the sexual maturity in humans reaches during the puberty. Um, then there are two types of gametes in male. The one male, it is spermatozoa. No, there are two types of gametes in males. It is some spermatozoa, and female it is oocytes. Spermatozoa is a microgamete, and oocyte is a macrogamete. Then we discussed about male reproductive system. Primary sex organ is a testis, and a secondary sex organ is penis. Accessory sex organs are prostate and seminal vesicle and bulbourethral gland also. Uh,
Yeah.
Reproductive ducts are epidermis, vas deferens, sperms, and urethra. That's it.
Okay. Perfect. So Rabia has also joined in. Good evening, Rabia.
Good evening, sir.
How are you doing?
Fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So but please keep your microphone on, and if possible, video. I'll appreciate that. There's the spotlight on, so no worries. Okay. So Iram just anyways, I don't think there's anything to worry about, though. You see each other in classes, anyways. Okay. So Iram just gave a quick recap of the last class, which was just the basics that we covered, and I was telling Iram that from today's class onward, we will be picking up some pace, not too much though, because you need to first acclimatize, but because there is lots of information that needs to be delivered from my end to you so that you can discuss, we will pick up some pace. So today I plan to cover two things. One is the male reproductive system. So I've taken up the diagrams from your NCERT itself. It's so that we can discuss multiple aspects of this diagram. And second thing, before going to gametogenesis, we will try if we can talk about types of cell divisions. Okay, so about the male reproductive system, which we started with. As I told you before, male reproductive system is a kind of biologically a modified version of the female reproductive system, where there are certain organs that have evolved from the same kind of tissues, but have taken different shape and form to serve different purpose. Now, there are certain features in male and female reproductive system that are very, very different, and that also makes sense why they are different and what purpose they serve biologically. Now, we know that testis is the primary sexual organ in males, right? And the interesting fact about testes, which is also a CBSE question, so let's start with this question only. So I have here a list of previous year's questions. So this question is, if you would like to note it down, it's from board's paper previous years. Why are the human testes located outside the abdominal cavity? It's one of the very, very routine questions that come from male reproductive system. Why are the human testes located outside the abdominal cavity? And name the structure in which they are present. Okay, so mostly the question revolves around these two things, testes and scrotum, that you can see in the diagram. So let's discuss a little bit about this. Okay, so any idea already? Because if this chapter has been taught, I just want to know in your schools? I just want to know where do you stand currently? Anyone would like to give an answer? Why do testes are situated outside the body cavity? By body cavity, I mean the main body wall. Okay, so you understand the body wall, the concept of body wall from class 11th. Coelom is the body cavity, right? You studied about coelom, pseudocoelomic organisms and coelomic organisms, in which there were diploblastic and triploblastic organisms, right? So coelom is the body cavity. So if you see a human, this is the neck and this is the shoulders and this is the body wall, let's say, which then, okay. So if you see a human body, we have a central canal called the digestive canal, which starts with the food pipe, then the food pipe goes and forms the stomach somewhere here, right? And then there is this whole bunch of intestines, then there is this large intestine and the anus, right? So if you see, anything which enters in the body stays in this passage. Now, because it's very, very highly convoluted passage, for the sake of simplicity, let's straighten it up. Okay, just imagine a straight passage. So I will delete this and I will try to make a straight passage. Let's say from mouth till anus, there is a straight passage. You understand? Your stomach, intestines all lie in this. Is the theoretically the concept is, do you understand what I'm drawing here? Yeah. Okay. Now,
Yes.
yeah. Now this is called the gut. Okay. Now between the gut and the body ending, the body wall, okay, the abdomen wall, all our organs, okay, lie here. So your liver is somewhere here, your lungs are here, your heart is here, your pancreas, then you have kidneys, right? Everything lies in the body cavity between the gut and the body wall. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
In females, even the ovaries lie within the body cavity. They are in the abdominal, lower abdominal cavity, but the primary reproductive organs of females are present well inside the body. But why is it that in males, the primary reproductive organ is not within the body cavity? For example, this urinary bladder is between the gut and the body wall. So this is in the body cavity. Everything is in the body cavity, but if I draw a line, this is where the body wall is, and this part is outside the body cavity. The structure in which testes are present is called scrotum. Scrotum is a membranous bag in which these testes are present. Now, any idea why? No? Okay. So the main reason is spermatogenesis, which is the process of making sperms, the male gametes. It requires a lower temperature than the body temperature. Okay. Now, a lower temperature means, what is the body temperature? The mean body temperature? Yeah, you're mute, Iram, if you're speaking.
36.
Yeah,
37.
yes, it's 36.9 degrees to be very precise, but no one maintains it at this. And all these standards are actually, to be very honest, not Indian or tropical standards. These are all textbook standards, are taken from American or European standards. So everything from heartbeat to body temperature to anything in the body which has a range, the standard is not Indian. So we can vary a little bit depending on where we live and what is our metabolism, etc., etc. So around 37, let's say, which you're right. So around 37 degrees Celsius or 98.6 degree Fahrenheit is the body temperature. But for spermatogenesis, you require 2 to 3 degrees Celsius less, okay, than the body temperature. In some cases, 4 degrees less than the body temperature. Now, if testes were present inside the body wall, the temperature of the whole body is maintained by our system, right? By the blood circulation and everything. Blood also circulates in testes. It's not like blood does not circulate in testes, but Since it is present outside the body wall, the heat which is retained in our body does not influence testes. Okay. Now, one thing that NCERT doesn't tell you is that at the junction of testes and the body wall, you would, so first write down the answer, write down. Testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity because spermatogenesis requires 2 to 4 degrees lesser or lower temperature than the body temperature. Okay.
Sir, can you repeat?
Yes. So the testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity because spermatogenesis. Now, this whole word itself tells you what it is. It is the process by which sperms are formed. So spermatogenesis requires 2 to 4 degrees lower temperature than the body temperature. Okay. Some books will say 1 to 3 degrees, some will say 2 to 3 degrees. On an average, it is 2 to 4 degrees less than the body temperature. But it's not like all the time. So people who live in tropics, for example, people who live in Saudi Arabia or in India, suffer summers and winters, right? Almost very hot summers and very cold winters. So during the summers, the body temperature is higher, right? But during the winters, the body temperature may not be that high. Like we need to maintain it more, right? So anything which is outside the body wall will heat up faster in summers and will also cool down faster in winters, right? So this scrotum has a set of muscles at the junction, which I'm drawing here, and these muscles are called cremaster muscles. This is important for your entrance. So these are called cremaster muscles. These cremaster muscles allow the testes to ascend a little up and a little down depending on what temperature it wants to maintain. Okay. So if someone's body temperature starts going down, especially in winters, if you're feeling very cold, your body is feeling cold, then the male body, the brain, decides to constrict the cremaster muscles, and testes go a little closer to the body cavity to maintain the temperature that is required for spermatogenesis. Is it clear? Is it making sense, this mechanism? And in summers, where there is already a lot of heat in the body and we are feeling hot already, these muscles loosen up a bit and testes move a little away from the body cavity so that it can again maintain the temperature which is required for spermatogenesis. This part clear? Perfect. Now, so they are present in scrotum. This is the answer to the second part. Where are they? In what are they situated? What bag? So that bag is called scrotum. Now, testes is a dual organ. This is the second question. Why is testes known as a dual organ? It is called a dual organ because it serves two functions. Any guess what functions does it serve? One function we all know, what do testes do? Produce gametes, right, Rabia? Yeah. So one is it produce gametes. So which means it is a primary sexual organ. What is the other thing it does? It also produces hormones, right? Especially the sexual hormones in males called testosterone. Okay. Now, testosterone is primarily responsible for the manliness of a male body, but that doesn't mean, okay, when you study at this level, You studied that testosterone is only present in males and estrogen is only present in females. That's not entirely true. That's again tell us that both male and female bodies at one point of time, when humans were not on the planet and life was not evolved to this level, similar body concept was still there. So estrogen is also produced and is present in male body, but in the form of estradiol. Now these things you don't have to remember. I'm just telling you to make things more interesting for you. Estradiol is very, very important for a lot of brain development. People have found that it plays a role in brain development. So brain, both male and female have, right? Testosterone is also present in females. Testosterone helps with muscle building. It helps with muscle strength. So if a female is an athlete, you must have seen boxers, right? Female boxers, female athletes, the way they go under training, it's very strenuous, right? Weightlifters who are female weightlifters, their bodies, their muscles are even stronger than a normal male, right? So inside their bodies, testosterone is produced higher than a normal female. Okay, it might still be producing lower than a male, but the level rises so that the muscle strength and muscle development can take place. But primarily it produced by testes. How it is produced in females, it's a different complicated thing, so we'll not go into that today, but just know that some trace amount is present in both. So testosterone is primarily male hormone produced by testes. That's why it's called dual organ. And all those hormones that produce, sorry, all those glands that produce hormones, what are they called? All these organs that produce, class 11th, human physiology. What are the organs that produce hormones called?
Endocrine glands.
Endocrine glands. Perfect. Okay, so there are, and what are the other kind of glands? One is endocrine, exocrine. And what does exocrine produce? So endocrines produce hormones. It's good to brush up, keep brushing up, right? Come on, what does exocrine produce? What is the difference between endocrine and exocrine? Crine means secretion. Again, so I think Iram knows this, but for Rabia, I'm just repeating. Again, we will.
Ductless glands, whereas exocrine secrete through ducts.
Perfect. So the word exo means exo. Crine means secretion or to secrete. Okay. Exo means outside, endo means inside. Is that clear? Endodermis,
Yes.
endothelium, and exo is outside. So any organ or gland that releases its secretion outside of itself. So if you are producing something at one place, but you want to secrete it at another place, how will you do that? So you have a tap in your home, but you want to water the plants which are in your garden. One way is to use a bucket, carry the water and go there, but the tap is constantly open. So what is a good idea? Put a pipe, right? Put a pipe in the tap, that's the duct. So if you have to produce something somewhere, but secrete it somewhere else, you don't want it to secrete immediately where you are in the same locally where you are present synthesizing it. So you make an exocrine gland. Exocrine glands secrete majorly enzymes. Okay, all the enzymes, for example, saliva is an enzyme, right? Salivary amylase is an enzyme present in saliva. So the salivary glands are embedded inside our cheek and in the jaws, right? They are called submandibular salivary glands, parotid salivary glands, and the one which are present in the cheek, maxillary salivary glands. All these salivary glands have ducts that come and they are situated under the tongue. So if you see your tongue in a mirror and you lift your tongue, you will see few duct-like structures through which saliva keeps coming out. So salivary glands are exocrine glands. Tear glands are exocrine glands. Okay. sebaceous glands, oil glands in our body. The glands in pancreas, which produces digestive enzymes, they all are exocrine glands, okay? Because they synthesize somewhere else and they release or secrete somewhere else where their activity is required. Endocrine, on the other hand, are the glands that produce hormone and release just there only, just in the blood. So blood is everywhere, right? Blood vessels are forming a network to each and every corner of our body. So these glands will not make ducts. They will just secrete whatever they are forming in the blood stream itself. And then blood will carry it everywhere in the body. So in a way, enzymes can be localized. For example, your amylase will not be present in, let's say, brain or on your hand, for example, right? The blood which is flowing through your hand might not be containing any digestive enzyme, correct? But it will contain all the hormones. For example, any hormones, for example, there is a hormone that brain secretes to talk to kidneys. So it's secreted from brain. It is present in the blood. It flows all through in the body. Also, it is in the hand, but does it have any role in the hand? No. So nothing will happen. Only when it will reach the kidney, kidney has receptors that to which these hormones will bind, and there will be a signal generated. For example, a postman. So hormones are like postman. Blood is like the postman. Hormones are like the letters. So postman carries thousands of letters, let's say. Okay. Now is the world of emails and WhatsApp texts. But imagine a postman, okay, carrying thousands of letters, and the postman is going from one home to another, but only delivering the letter which is specific to that address, right? It has all the letters, but it will not just dump all the letters to one place, correct? Similarly, it's the relationship of blood and hormones. So those are called endocrine, which secrete there only. Is this part clear? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. So testes is both an endocrine gland and a reproductive gland or a sex gland, okay, called gonad. This part is also clear, right? Now, I was telling about why it is outside. So you understand why it is outside. But where is testes synthesized, where it is formed in an embryo? So when a baby is born with testes already present in scrotum. But you will find it interesting to know that testes are not produced outside the body. It can't be produced outside the body, right? It can be present there, but where was it produced? Where was it formed? In an embryonic male child, male fetus. Any idea? It is formed just around the kidneys, where the kidneys are, okay? In the middle lower abdomen. So if testes are formed in the abdomen, up in the abdomen, they should descend down before birth, right? Make sense? Now there is a disorder in which these testes cannot descend down at birth. Sometimes it takes a few days. Sometimes babies are born, it's very rare, but male babies will be born just with scrotum, but no testes in it. Okay. And then within a few days, the testes will descend down. It's very rare, but it's a phenomena. But mostly if it doesn't descend down before birth, then it's a problem. Then surgically, you have to bring the testes down in the scrotum. Doctors do that. And that condition where testes fail to descend down to scrotum and stay in the abdomen and the baby is born is called cryptorchidism. What it is called? I'm writing the spelling here. Cryptorchidism. CRYPTOR, cryptor, CHIDISM, cryptorchidism. It is a disorder where testes fail to descend down into the scrotum before birth. Okay, so doctors, what they do, they surgically take the testes, like remove the testes from there and bring it and place it in the scrotum. A little bit complex, but it's doable. It
So
can be
any
done.
consequences of this?
Yes, there are consequences of this because this phenomena itself is very rare. So we don't have lots of number to study and figure out what is the most common consequence. But if this, as you can understand, if the operation doesn't go successfully as planned, even if you descend down the testes, sometimes the testes are not functional. So the most common consequence is that the baby won't be able to reproduce. The baby will be fertile or will not be able to produce sperms, right? That is another reason that human testes have to descend down, because if it stays in the body, the same problem will occur. The body temperature is high, and at that temperature, sperm formation declines. Okay, it's not like there is no sperm formation, but it declines. Very less sperms are formed, and very less sperms are as good as no sperms, you know, sometimes, because if you have too few, if any male has too few sperms, then they all will be killed, right? Like we were discussing in the male tract, because there is a very tough selection criteria, even tougher than NEET and JEE. So they all will just perish, right? So half of our existence, like we were discussing yesterday, half of our existence has already cleared a tougher entrance exam to be born. So I don't think we need to be scared of any other exam after birth. Just understand that. Okay, just remember what I said when you sit in any exam. Okay, cool. So the obvious question is, how do we know that, or do testes descend down, or are they present in the scrotum in all organisms? No. Okay, many organisms have their testes right inside the body cavity. In fact, all invertebrates have their testes in their body only, right? Like a snake, like earthworms. Sorry, snake is a vertebrate, like earthworms. Even vertebrates which are cold-blooded, like reptiles. All reptiles, they have their testes inside the body wall. Yes or no? Even birds, which are warm-blooded, have their testes inside the body wall. Correct? Yeah. Elephants, there are many organisms which are seasonal breeders. So these higher mammals in the wild have a season to breed. They are not like humans who can breed at any point of the year at any given time. There is a breeding or a mating season where females are abundant, resources are abundant, and then males come and, you know, they do all different kinds of things to impress the female, find a female, mate with the female. So there are breeding seasons for birds, there are breeding seasons for other mammals and reptiles. So during their breeding season, organisms like elephants, they descend their testes down, because that is the season where they need sperm formation. So they make sperms, they reproduce, and during the non-breeding seasons, they ascend their testes back in the abdomen, because that's not required. And it also makes sense. See, because humans started living in protected environments, right? We have evolved to live in environments which we can control around ourselves. Currently, you are sitting in your homes, very safe, very sound. You are not afraid of any wild animal attacking you. You are not afraid of shortage of food. You are not afraid of temperature or things. You are very stable. So that gives us the ability to, you know, reproduce or to do all sorts of biological activities at any given point of time. But organisms that wander in the wild, that live in the wild, they have to time their dependency. So breeding season requires lots of energy, right? See a mother, a human female who's pregnant, a human female who's pregnant versus a non-pregnant female. A non-pregnant female can skip a meal, right? Can skip a lunch, and can, nothing much will happen, or can go and do all sorts of exercises and things and dance freely, etc., etc., and still can skip a lunch. But do you think a pregnant woman should or can skip a lunch or skip a meal or 2 meals? No, right? On top of it, a pregnant female has to eat more than what she requires, and she feels hungry all the time, because that there's a baby growing inside that is taking energy from the mother. Biologically speaking, concept wise, a baby is nothing more than a parasite, like an endoparasite inside a mother's body. So when we are inside our mother's body, we are like parasites, sucking on our mother's nutrients through umbilical cord and giving her the waste that we produce. So a pregnant female's body produce and excrete. The kidneys work double time, double shift. The liver work double shift. The digestive system work double shift. The breathing, respiratory system work double shift, right? Do you understand? So imagine an organism in the wild. In the wild, if like an elephant or a deer, if they have to be pregnant, they should also ensure that food is available. So if an elephant becomes pregnant in a season where it's the autumn, where there are no grasses and trees, or it is winter and food shortage is there, or let's say a carnivorous, so do you think that it's a good idea? No, right? So most of the time, their breeding seasons come when there is spring, lots of availability of food, grasses, trees all around, everything is flourishing. Make sense to you? So in their breeding season,
Yes, sir.
they can ascend or descend their testes. But for humans, it's permanent. And if it cannot descend, it's called cryptorchidism. So this is another question that comes and is very, very a routine question. Now, talking about the structure, let's look at this diagram. I'll walk you through the diagram. So we start with the penile tissue, which is called the penis. It is the organ which has two kind of major tissues. Penis is made up of erectile tissues. Now, what is an erectile tissue? Erectile tissue has a capability to grow in size or to erect when given a blood stimulus or a blood circulation upon. So penis is heavily circulated by blood vessels, and the erectile tissues, when the blood rushes into the structure, the erectile tissues become erect, and mechanically they're more hard. And this biologically is true for all organisms, all the males that have penises, because the motive of a penis is to deposit the male gamete into the female body for internal fertilization to happen. Okay, so it's like a tool. Now it's made up of two kind of tissues. One is called corpus spongiosum. Corpus, let me write it here. So one is called corpus, corpus spongiosum, like sponge. So what happens to a sponge when it absorbs water? It inflates, right? And the second is called corpus cavernosum or cavernosa. Corpus spongiosa and corpus cavernosa or cavernosum, singular. So these are the erectile tissues of the penis. Write down. These two are the erectile tissues, and they help in erection. And the signal for erection comes through hormones present in blood and the blood itself. Okay, perfect. Now, as I told you, there are certain glands. I'll mark them in red. One is called prostate. Here you can see a prostate gland, right? Prostate is a single gland. I'm making square around these. The other is bulbourethral gland, right? And then there should be seminal vesicle. It's here. Okay. So only prostate is a single gland. Seminal vesicle is a pair, and bulbourethral is also a pair. Because this is a side view, so you only see one of each, because the other is on the other side. So seminal vesicle, prostate, and bulbourethral we talked about, right? we will talk about in detail in some time. So from penis, you see this is urethra that goes up. And at this point, can you see a Y fork here like this? I'll delete this. Can you see a Y? A diversion, right? Should I zoom
Yes,
in?
sir.
Or is it visible? Is it visible to you, the Y diversion?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yes, one is going into the urinary bladder, right? So the duct which is coming from urinary bladder and the duct which is coming from the testes. So let's follow this duct from the testes. Oh, sorry. So here is the cremaster muscle. Follow this duct, which I'm marking with red, or let me use a marker. This duct, which is going up from the testes here, and this very small duct, which is coming from the bladder, they are meeting at this point, right? This junction. This point onwards, it forms the urethra, which is the common passage for both sperm and testes, which we discussed in the last class. Okay, make sense? Okay, cool. So urinary bladder, vas deferens, we'll talk about vas deferens later, urethra. Okay, and on the top, so the penile structure is divided into three parts. One is called the head, which I have, let me mark. So one part is the head, the other is the shaft, and then you have the root. Okay, the root, the shaft, and the head. The head is also called, for your entrances, just know that the head part is also called the glans. Okay, so this part is called the glans or the glans penis. And glans is a very sensitive tissue, and it is covered with a skin fold known as the foreskin. Now this skin fold develops in kids simply for protective reasons. Okay, but as the baby male grows and reaches puberty, the penile structure starts to grow, and with that the glans, the foreskin also grows. In few cultures, the foreskin is removed after a certain age after birth, right? And that process of removal of foreskin is called circumcision, correct? And circumcision can actually be helpful to the human boy in two reasons. One, the glans penis over time, because it's very, very sensitive, so it becomes less sensitive, okay, to touch receptors and all. Second, the constant exposure of this skin fold, because this skin fold is sometimes inconvenient if it lies there or if it overgrows. So because it is just there could be a developmental defect and it can overgrow. And remember that it's constantly getting in contact with the urine, which is acidic, right? So the chances of foreskin getting infection is also reduced when there is circumcision. But circumcision should be done at a particular age, okay, not at any given age, because then after one point of time, doing circumcision can also be harmful and can cause infection to the penile structure itself. Okay, cool. So as we go forward, there is this seminal vesicle, the glands I'll talk about later. So that's it. And there is this ejaculatory duct, which we call this duct. Okay, the duct where there is a junction between the ureters and the sperm duct, where it meets just below that, it's called the ejaculatory duct. Now the concept of ejaculatory duct is, remember I told you in last class that when there is an urge to ejaculate in males, they cannot urinate at the same time, right? Because body has invested energy in making this whole urethra alkaline. Remember last class, both of you, Rabia and Iram? Is the concept getting clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if you have invested energy, you would not like it to go futile. So ejaculatory duct is, we call it ejaculatory duct because if the sperm reaches this duct, then there is no point of return. The sperm cannot go back. The sperm has to be ejaculated. It's an involuntary process beyond that. It is only voluntary until a male reaches sexual arousal. So there's a concept of heat period, both in males and females, with respect to release of gametes. So that release of gametes comes at the very end of sexual arousal, when the body is sure that now if it releases the gametes, it's going to serve the purpose of reproduction. Okay, so if sperms come out of the testes, if they are present in this vas deferens, they are normally present in vas deferens, not a big deal, they are always stored here. But if they cross this checkpoint and come into the ejaculatory duct, now they will be ejaculated and nothing can hold it. Okay, makes sense, right?
Yes,
That's why it's
sir.
called ejaculatory duct. Okay, perfect. And rectum and anus is the opening of the digestive system. Okay, so we know that digestive system, like in class 11th, you have studied that digestive system is different from excretory system, right? So the opening of digestive system is called rectum, anus, and the opening of excretory system is called ureter. It comes from urinary bladder. Okay, so this whole anatomy is clear. Any doubts with the anatomy, the male reproductive anatomy? Iram, Rabia?
No,
No?
sir.
Okay, perfect. Now let's go to specifically the male reproductive system, the gonads or the reproductive system quickly. So look at this diagram now. So this is a frontal view, a frontal section of the male reproductive system, where you can very clearly see there are two seminal vesicles, right? There is one single prostate. So it's not like there are two prostates. It just look because from the center comes the urethra. So this whole structure is one single structure. Okay, what I have made here. It's quite heart shaped. I don't know why. So there is only one prostate, and you can see these tiny two dots, right? One here and one here. These are called bulbourethral gland. They are very small. Can you see these tiny dots? Two bulb-like structures.
Yes.
They are bulbourethral gland. So males have a pair of seminal vesicles, a pair of bulbourethral gland, and a single prostate. Okay, and one fact with just a trivia with prostate is males are the most prevalent cancer in males is the prostate cancer. Okay, which is male specific, gender specific, and in females, can you guess which is the most prevalent female specific cancer?
Breast cancer.
Breast cancer. Okay, can you guess the second most prevalent female cancer? Cervical cancer, in the cervix, in the vagina. Okay, and the common cancers which are common to both male and females, of course the most common is the blood cancer, leukemia, right, and lung cancers and abdominal cancers, etc. Anyways, so just wanted to let you know. Okay, so let's start with testes here. So you can see that there are two testes. Inside the testes, there are structures called testicular lobules. Okay, so there are these, let me use some yellow color which can be seen. Red also is not very good. Okay, let's see if this is visible. Can you see this? Is it visible to you? Yeah. So these kind of chambers are present in the testes, which are called testicular lobules. Okay, each testicular lobule has around, now this is our entrance question, each testicular lobule has around 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules. write it. I'll explain you just in a few seconds what is seminiferous tubules. But one testicular lobule has around 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules. Okay. And how many testicular lobules are there? In each testis, any idea? Around 250 to 300. Okay. In one testis, there is around 250 to 300 testicular lobules, these chambers. And in each chamber, there are 3 seminiferous tubules, 1 to 3. So let's take 300 upper limit of both. So maximum in one testis, how many seminiferous tubules can be there? 300 into 3, which is around 900 seminiferous tubules can be present in one testis. Okay. So just remember this, because seminiferous tubule is going to be a very important part in the next class, where we will be studying spermatogenesis in detail. Now all these chambers connect together to the center here, this part of the testis, and this part is called the rete testis. It is like a network. So from all the lobules, seminiferous tubules come in and join at rete testis, forming a huge network. Around 900 of them are coming together, and from there they start going out. So do you see these in the diagram? These root-like structures going out of the testes, which I have drawn here in red. Is it visible, Rabia and Hiram? Yeah, that's called. So Hiram, you are mute. I can see that you are speaking. That's a good thing of keeping your camera on. So I know that you are responsive. Okay. So these small tubules or ducts are very coiled. Okay, they are like springs, coiled like springs, and they are called vasa efferentia because they radiate out of testes. They go out of testes. And where do they go? So on the top of the testes, just like a cap, you can see this structure, which I'm marking with blue. Let me use, yeah. Can you see this that I'm marking here? The structure that I marked with blue? It's also here. It looks like a comma shaped structure. That's called epididymis. And epididymis is a very important region, important organ from male spermatogenesis point of view, because write down 2 things right here, which we will discuss again and again so that it sets in your head. Inside the seminiferous tubules, which are this, forms the sperm. So this is site of structural maturation of sperm. Remember this. The structure of the sperm is synthesized in seminiferous tubules, which means sperms are formed in seminiferous tubules. Is it clear? What is the site of structural maturation of sperm? Seminiferous tubules. But entrances confuse you by changing the structural part to functional. If they ask, what is the site of functional maturation of sperm? Then it is epididymis. Okay. So a sperm has to be formed in the testes and come out of the testes and go into the epididymis. Epididymis is like a camp. Every sperm stays there for around 2 to 3 weeks. 14 to 20 days it spends in epididymis. It's like a camp. You know, we go to summer camps to learn some abilities. Yeah. Similarly, biology functions. So sperm are formed, but their function is to vigorously move, right? Their function is to be able to speed their flagella so that they can, so if in a 3D I show you the whiplash motion, so think of this finger as a sperm with head being towards my towards my palm. Okay, so this is the head and this is the tail. Okay, so they don't do the serpentine motion like the 2D motion which shows like this. If I show you in 3D, so now it moves like this. Can you understand? It wiggles in circle, and this gives the sperm a propelling motion towards the forward direction. That's called whiplash motion. So sperm also have to, you know, be functionally mature to do that, plus other aspects of functional maturity that we will study later on in this chapter only are given in epididymis. So write down epididymis is the site of functional maturation. And this is a question that comes in your NEET exams. Okay, so sperm spend around 2 to 3 weeks in epididymis. So epididymis also is divided into 3 parts: the head, the body, and the tail. You know, caput, cauda, and caput something and cauda. Caput is the head, cauda is the tail, in between is the body. But we are not going into detail of epididymis now. We'll go later on. We are just looking at the structure as of now. From the epididymis, you can see these tubes. Can you see this? I'm marking in green. These coil tubes going up. They stay coiled to some part, but after that they become straight, right? Fairly straight. This is called vas deferens. So there are 2 vas, 2 similar named ducts. One is called vas efferens or vasa efferentia. The other is called vas deferens, okay, or vasa deferentia. VD and VE. So vasa efferentia connects epididymis to testes. Write down. Vasa efferentia connects epididymis to testes. And vas deferens connects epididymis to the sperm duct or ejaculatory duct. Okay, to the ejaculatory duct. And from vasa deferentia onwards, you can see that, see, it's going. Okay, let me use this. So it's going here. And then the first thing it is encountering at this point is secretion from seminal vesicle, right? So seminal vesicle is secreting from both the sides into here, right? And what seminal vesicles must be secreting? Think about it. So these are just sperms. But I told you that sperm need a specific type of environment to live in. What do they need? They need alkaline environment, right? So seminal vesicle produces seminal fluid. Okay. Seminal fluid, which is 60% of the total semen. 60% of all the fluid in the male reproductive system is secreted by seminal vesicles. So they are the major secretory glands. And then is the prostate. Prostate also secretes, prostate secretes the rest 35%. So 60%, prostate is 35%, but you will say that, okay, it's 95 only, rest 5% is by bulbourethral. Okay, is it clear? The 100% of the semen is formed. Then everything, the semen plus the sperms, reaches the urethra and comes out through the urethral opening. Okay, the opening is called meatus also, urethral meatus or opening, but just don't worry about that. These are more medical terms. Once you will go into medical school, you will be studying a lot about it. Okay, I hope you both go to a good medical grad school. Okay, cool. So that's all about it. Any doubt? Okay, and also look at, let me mark with yellow, or let me mark with green here. Look at this. This is called ureter. This is coming from the kidney. Okay, this duct which I'm marking in green, it's coming from the kidneys. On top there is kidneys, It's coming from kidneys and it is joining here. So at this point, both will join. So urine, okay. Oh, sorry, I joined it wrong. So this is coming from the kidneys and going into the urinary bladder. I'm sorry. And from the urinary bladder, this is coming out, okay. So it stores here at the back side. So urinary bladder is at the dorsal side. I hope you both understand ventral, dorsal, lateral, anterior, posterior. Okay, so we'll end today's class with revising those axes. But is there any doubt in overall anatomy of the male reproductive system? If you people want to take a screenshot of this, if you are doing it here, you can take a screenshot. I'll take a screenshot and send it. Or you're not on the group yet. So we'll be making a WhatsApp group where I will be sharing certain things with you, interesting things. If you want to take a screenshot, take a screenshot. I hope you have noted things down. Any doubt in the anatomy? If anatomy is clear, then we have to understand physiology, which is how male system makes sperms. And I'm giving you a homework for tomorrow. Oh, sorry, the next class. Write down. You have to study two things. Homework is one is you have to revise mitosis and meiosis. This was in your class 11th, right? Cell division, right? And second thing you have to do is you have to revise the endocrine secretion from pituitary, from two things. One is hypothalamus and pituitary. Again, class 11th. So hypothalamus, pituitary, and testes. These three glands, what are the endocrine secretions, the hormone name that you have to revise before you come to the next class. This is your homework. Okay. And in general, whatever I taught you today, you have to go back, open your NCERT, look at this diagram and make your own notes. Read that passage from NCERT and be thorough. If there is anything that you did not understand, please bring it up in the next class. In the next class, I will start with meiosis, mitosis briefly, then we'll go to spermatogenesis. Okay, Rabia and Neeram?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so see you both in the next class. Take care. Bye-bye.